hello guys, welcome back to my channel. That's the one.
Yeah.
Hi, hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Molly Chat. Today I have new guests with me. Yes, it's been a while not posting any episodes, but because there's a lot have been happening, you'll see more content will be coming up. So today I have two lovely young men with me right here. They will introduce themselves, who they are, and we'll start having a flow going on.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us to the show, Bali. Guys, my name is Pamelo. I am the co-founder of Rainbow Nation Comics and co-creator of the Young Nelson superhero story. I'm here with my brother.
And I'm Dibodu, the creative director of Rainbow Nation Comics and the Young Nelson superhero story, respectively.
It is so weird you guys are not mentioning the nicknames, so you know you are, but it's fine because you don't want people to know. It's fine, I'll keep it to that.
Yeah. No, look, I think the most important thing is to say, what is Rainbow Nation Comics about? What is Young Nelson about? And then I think when you go into the personals of our, how we came up to, I think that's where the nicknames are going to come about.
Yeah, so initially, this is how we go. We start off with your personal life, right? And then we'll build into
the story
of how did Rainbow Nation come about.
Okay.
So now that I'm saying, I'm used to you guys having nicknames, Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so sorry. My God.
I'll say also, for me, because even before dance there was soccer, so there's even guys that know I used to play soccer that refer to me by my soccer.
Do you used to play soccer?
Yeah,
wasn't it hockey?
I
you
think
know hockey. I'm switching. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm saying, there's so many nicknames that come from everything that you do. Sometimes you don't just have onto one. Someone still refers to you
No, but I see the brotherhood. Has it always been like this? In the beginning, or you guys had issues, sibling rivalry before you guys had and this is my brother and I love him. I mean, we boys.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
Wrestling used to be a thing back then.
Definitely. I think it's a double-edged sword. I think as long as you respect one another, there's the family respect has always been there.
Yeah.
And I think it's something my dad has always instilled, that he wanted his children to be very close-knit.
Yeah.
So I think from a young age there will be those disagreements. Families like that. You have I want to play PlayStation now.
Yeah.
No, I'm playing. There's been that, but I think as far as wrestling, I think there's been the fun wrestling, then there's been the wrestling where you guys are actually fighting.
I mean, you're the big brother here. You had a role to put on also.
Yeah.
Type of thing. You're my brother, but hey, remember I'm the oldest. So have you always been a macho kind of brother, and then once he matured, you're like, you know what? Let me now grasp around his energy and work around being a close,
almost business partner.
Yeah.
What I was saying was, as brothers, we've always been close, and when you look at the whole being the older brother, I think the most important thing was always to try and set an example. You make your mistakes, but be able to at least explain I did this and the consequences of that was this, and that's why you shouldn't do it.
Okay.
So I think that for me was the most important thing. I think having to put my foot down, I think I've had to do it really, because I think if you set a good example, then there's less discipline that you have to do, So I think obviously as we mature, pitching the idea to him about, I think when I finished university, there was a time where he already being a visual artist, self-taught, where I was thinking about Young Nelson after,
the initial plan, the initial idea comes from you. No, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So, because of brotherhood, I can see it's tight, and ever since I've known you guys, it's always been like that.
Yeah.
But prior to that, you're the oldest. How many are you?
There's 5 of us in total.
Ooh.
I'm in the middle, exactly.
You're in the middle, okay.
Yeah, I'm the beef patty. He's probably like a tomato or a piece of lettuce.
Yeah, of lettuce and stuff, and maybe the sauce, who knows?
Yeah, but the sauce is important.
Maybe
the sauce is important.
I mean,
what's a burger without sauce?
Maybe.
Yeah.
True. So did you guys go to the same primary also?
Yeah, same primary, same high school. It's our parents thought it was a good formula, if it worked.
All of you guys, or
our oldest brother's the only one who went to a different high school and primary. Yeah.
So the rest of you, you know what? These ones, let us throw them same.
For me, I also didn't mind. I'm someone who likes like familiar things. So I think when it was like primary or high school or varsity, because I'd help them like move in and out. By the time I got to like like that grade or that year, it almost felt like I kind of knew it.
Yeah.
Like UJ, like when we got there, it almost, I've been here in and out, helping the brothers. So when I was picking a school, it just made it easier to say,
Okay, because you already had like a blueprint of how you want to maneuver around.
So that way I can focus on like something else rather than.
What childhood memory do you have that feels like you'll forever cherish going forward with your brother or alone as an individual? First, let's start off there. Because I always say, childhood is what kind of like molds the person you are today. Even if it's not when you were like a kid, but in high school also, because majority of us matured a lot, probably in high school, and then from there on we moved to the same thinking or analogy of life. So going back, what memory that kind of like always hits you and be like, what, this thing, it's me going forward.
Well, for me, I guess personally, I'd say it's like growing up with my grandmother. Like I'd say that was like.
Oh, you're not a mama's boy, you're a granny's boy.
I'm a granny's boy. Like her now in the trenches,
Yeah.
So like I'd say it would be that like the foundation. And then, like as like siblings, I'd say it would be Brian's with my dad. I think that's where like the most.
So initially you are like a family-oriented person.
Yeah, like
that's,
if everyone's good, I'm good.
You like. So that means in 2 years to come, you guys will be married or something, because you guys are like.
Yeah, I think obviously.
Especially we should look at you, big brother.
Yeah, obviously it's the goal.
You set the example, and they follow.
Yeah, I think it is a good example to set. I think families are good, especially the more successful you become. I think Lionel Messi is a good example. Like you see a lot of footballers that might become successful, and then something happens. You hear that their form drops. I think especially in football, I was like, I feel. As a man, it's necessary for you, the more successful you become, to have a sense of stability. So I think in the long term it is something.
So you feel like marriage should be like more based on affordability more?
Well, there's a lot of factors. You're right. Affordability is one. I think your own maturity as well, to say, okay, do you have the skill sets? Because you need to sit down and meditate and say, okay, you're not only going to look after another person, but there's going to be other little people that are coming in.
Other little people. Can't wait to meet those ones.
Morals, values, ethics. So I think there's a lot that I take into consideration. But yes, being able to afford everything that comes with it, not just the wedding day, but the marriage itself. That's the other thing. And I think as a creative, it comes with that to say, it's not just about having the money now. It's about, can you 20 years, 30 years down the line be a creative brand that's able to sustain itself, so I think yes, definitely. At the same time, I'm looking long term and saying, we need to make sure that not just myself, because as I build the brand, I'm also looking and saying we need to make sure that for ourselves, for our kids, for the family, that this is a brand that as an estate, when you pass on Raymond Nation Comics to the next generation, that they've got a very healthy publishing product to it.
Okay. Now, growing up, did you think of one day you'll have your own thing happening? Did you think of comics, or were you always like business? I mean, you went for school for business oriented, like initially business things. You didn't think of going for arts? Because I know him as an artistic person. I met you in the dancing environment where it's also artsy. But you came off as more of a business orientated person. So growing up, did you think like one day I'll own one of my things, or you were just like, what, wherever I go, I'm okay with it?
I think culturally, I maybe because I don't know any businessmen or women in our family. My mom and dad are nurses, and so it was kind of like I had a passion for hip hop. I studied hip hop. I understood breakdancing.
That's when you're in a different era from us.
Yes,
in a way.
Yeah, so I don't. Amapiano was like new school, and I'm like old school breakdancing.
No, come on, we all old here. Okay? So I get where you're going with the Amapiano, because I also kind of like
I'm learning.
I prefer my hip hop more than the Amapiano, but we grasp into the changes.
I love the art form, and I'm like, you know what? As somebody who was into that old school hip hop with breakdancing and graffiti art and the music. I always wanted to be part of that space, and obviously, firstly, I thought of being an MC. I also thought actually studied breakdancing and practiced it. So already I was like, because you never really being an entrepreneur is a very funny thing, because it's about once you have your own idea, your own intellectual property, the moment you sell it to someone or you're an entrepreneur, So the idea of owning music, I hadn't thought of being an entrepreneur. I just knew that I wanted to produce music.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And then,
so why didn't you go for that route then? Why didn't you go for producing? What do they call sound engineering?
Sound engineering.
Yes. Why didn't you go on that line? Like, okay, because I love music. How about let me?
I think there's a weird combination of factors that made me have a false sense of security about production. So my oldest brother is one of the people that inspired me to write hip-hop music, so he was producing music.
You guys inspire each other. This is beautiful in the family. I really like that.
So his name is Karao, and he's...
Oh yeah, you better mention him.
Yeah.
Mention the name.
Shout out big bro. So he's a producer who I was like, okay, he'll do the beats. Then I actually tried doing beats, and I was like, I'm not good at...
It's something you like, but you're not going to invest much time to.
I can write a song and be like, oh, this is what I wanted to sound like, but I realized maybe it's just...
At least you tried.
Yeah, so now it's kind of like one of those things where I was like, okay, now that I know how to create music, I know how to, dance and create a dance product. I was like, this is entrepreneurship, And so even when I was writing music, as I grew older, I'm like, wow, that's how the concept of Young Nelson and Rainbow Nation Comics was from a song that titled Young Nelson. I'm like, studying comic books, I saw Black Panther, I'm like, I could do this.
And you thought of your brother, not your friend, not your bestie. You're like, my brother is the one. I don't want to be screwed over by anybody, rather your brother than anybody else.
I think that was the biggest win that I saw, is like, look, and the other thing is, because I realized there is no comic book publishing house in South Africa, dedicated to new titles. If you had to say what are the top 10 comic book titles,
true.
So it was one of those things. I don't know how long this journey is. So,
but you're giving it a try, and you're going to wing along the way.
Yeah. So if you get somebody who you're gonna publish one issue with, you don't know, it might take 10 issues. So I was like, rather than go for somebody who's a professional who's going to charge you for one issue, done, leave, let's actually build this. Let's learn it. Let's understand it. Let's understand the ecosystem. Yeah. So, and I also thought it was God's work as well, because I did ask him, and then he's like, look, man, I need to understand this. And then I asked for other people, external people outside of him. And then there were people who tried it, but I could see they weren't really into it. Their work wasn't good enough.
So
and
for you, did you also think one day that you will be part of something of your own rather than working for somebody else going forward? Because you've been a creative, even though you did go to school like anybody else, but your mindset always loved anything artsy.
Yeah, well, I didn't think the big picture was Rainbow Nation Comics, but anything I do, football or dance, I really do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's when I know if ever I were to stop, how good or not I was.
Yeah.
So even with football, I know, and it's all the discipline that I took
playing football also kind of discipline a person.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So you never wanted to enter going forward playing.
Yeah. Well, I did. It was the plan.
So if you need a player, he still has the heart for it, guys. He still has the heart to play soccer.
There's a reality where I did pursue it, but again, I'm saying, I understood that it would probably take me leaving the country,
So you're not open to leaving the country? So what happens if you guys now be called by,
that is
abroad?
Yeah.
That is different because it's your baby.
Yeah, Ronaldo leaves Portugal at 7 too. So and your family kind of is on fast forward, you come back. So stuff like that for me.
Yeah.
When Pamela was talking about stability, when you're creating, there's also a certain mindset that you wanna almost be able to have.
Yeah.
So I think just understanding that football is gonna take that, you kind of weigh the two, and then that's also when dance started to come into play.
Now let's tap into that.
Yeah.
You guys love dancing. When did you discover that, you know what, I'm good at this thing? How did that form happen? Because you did sports, and did you also do sports?
Yeah, I played hockey, I played soccer.
Yeah. It's the last one. It's like talking to one person in two different bodies.
Yeah.
So initially, how did that love come and happen? Because in high school, a lot of, I think the production of having dancing was created amongst the students themselves. It's not like a thing that happened at school, like this dancing, you guys can come and sign up. So how did that love for dancing come about? Let's start with you.
Well, I think one of the things that I like when you look at hip hop, it's
and why hip hop also? Because you know those Kotani people.
Yeah. Well, we're from Tlakong village, right? And like I said, my oldest brother Kara was the guy who would come
village hip hop
because my oldest brother's the first one to go and
influencing each other.
Yeah, he comes back Tupac and he's like, guys, listen to this. He came back,
oh my god,
with video game, TV game cartridges. Play this, you know. So he would come with the merch.
Yeah.
And so like when I listen to hip hop, you know, a black kid from the village.
It hit the heart differently.
Yeah, you're listening to Tupac changes. You don't know what it means, but you're bobbing your hair like.
So you influenced him, Pile. Your brother influenced you. You influenced him. And this goes on.
Yeah, I think it's naturally, especially if you're doing. I think you're by nature influencing. You just pray that you're influencing in a positive way.
Good way.
You know, so
and also being a sibling is kind of like a thing that you don't initially like. It happens by them just watching you. You know.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what happened. Like they enjoyed like, oh, my brother's enjoying this. I'm also, kind of like enjoying this. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened.
Yeah. So when I got into hip hop music, listening to it, then he began to tell me about like how it came to be. So the first people in Africa, the African Americans that came together, they were. And there was break dancers there as well. There was graffiti artists. So the first hip hop guys were not just break dancers. They were not just rappers. They did a bit of everything. They would do graffiti. They would dance. You know. So there's the African Bambadas. There's the DJ Kool Hercs. He didn't tell me all the names, but he gave me enough to know that there were African people who created this. So I'm like, wait a minute. You're telling me African people created this thing? You know. I'm like, technically this is part of African culture.
Good.
And then
Might as well join in.
Yeah, so then it was one of those things. I mean, one of the early b-boy crews was called the Mighty Zulu Kings, you know, inspired by, the Zulu kingdom. Yeah. So it made me realize that, maybe there's a lot of people that don't really understand hip hop.
Yeah.
They see their favorite rapper and then they
see things on the surface rather.
Yeah. So I guess for me, knowing that level of information, I was like, maybe also in my heart, I've always had this thing of kind of teaching people hip hop in its entirety, so maybe that's why I've also wanted to understand breaking enough that
Are you gonna go back to doing that?
Definitely. I mean, yesterday I did a bit of everything. We were doing workshops with little kids. We did this Young Nelson workout where we did little light boxing exercises. Then, to celebrate the 10-year commemoration of the life of Mr. Nelson Mandela, and this year being the 50th anniversary of the founding of hip hop, I did a breakdance performance for the kids.
Also, you D?
Was
it Big Bro Fela?
So I was there emotionally.
When are you done? You done with this?
Remember?
Yes, he was there.
What was that?
Somebody had to hold the camera.
True.
Somebody had to hold the camera.
Behind the scenes. No, well.
With you, how did that? Did it also happen to because and then big bro like, hey, listen to this. Were you also influenced by that, or when not at school you no?
Honestly, like for me, football was like the thing. I can't
Like I said, he's still available, right?
And that was the thing. So I didn't really picture myself getting into dance. I did love it.
What kind of dance though? Was it hip hop?
No, just in general,
Boja vibes.
Yeah, just seeing
I can't imagine you.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Doing that toss dance, toss dance in
I've when I look at piano, Like
I
when
can't.
people,
I just
I
hate
know,
hip-hop.
but like there's that
difficult,
thing
yeah.
where I'm like,
I wish, yeah.
like
But
singing.
can you dance to it?
No.
Choreo, it would take like if we had a
Really?
He
production.
can't spontaneous. Yeah. If
Yeah.
obviously, I think because he's been choreographed in
Yeah.
from
I know, like
Okay.
hip hop.
Okay,
I
choreo.
thought, once you're a dancer, you can mimic
No.
every dance.
No, like if I break dance now
Yeah.
and you take I'm a piano
Yeah.
dancer. They are
Those
multi-talented,
who can really multi-talented.
but it's not. I can't do piano
Yeah,
as
no, I can't.
someone.
I would laugh. I'm sorry. If you guys would do it, I would laugh.
Yeah.
I'm not a dancer, but
There's a
I'll
lot of
judge you.
Yeah, like
styles, grooves, that you have to kind of pick up. So yeah.
yeah. So like the dancing for me, honestly, like I'm saying, when I came to high school,
Yeah,
in my head was like football.
football.
But
But the
there
school you went
wasn't
to.
there wasn't any football programs.
Yeah,
So
the school you went to also, yeah.
So I'm thinking like my development. I'm more thinking about like where should I be, and like time passes. But at that time also there was like dancing that the group, the guys.
Yeah.
So again, for me it looked good. I did
Was
try.
it also there for you guys, the dance crew, or it formed by you guys?
Yeah. Interesting enough, it was almost like although we both did dance, we had different
Reasons
styles.
why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was breakdancing,
Yeah.
so I would go by Miss Potts' class.
Yes.
And there was about 2 or 3 other breakdancers.
Yeah.
And so it was literally just doing flips, 6 steps. And now that group has
Weren't you scared of flipping at the first time you did it?
it is, but I think one of the beauties of breakdancing is, first thing you do is learn how to fall.
Yeah.
So once you know how to fall, whatever happens, I know. Like it's almost like if you know you're gonna fall, you know how to put your hands out. But if you're falling and you don't know what's happening, you might hit your face, So I think one of the beauties, like I've tripped before and just fallen forward and just had my hand.
This says a lot about you as a person. You are able to adjust to anything, any change. You allow yourself to fall, even though like you allow yourself to fall without having the fear of hurting yourself. Like, yeah, I am going to hurt myself initially, but I need to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
This goes to show, like, even with Nelson, the whole comic coming about, you like, I don't know if I'm about to fail, but I'm ready to take whatever comes my way.
Yeah.
So it also, hence why I always wanna grasp from the young going up, so that we know how the person you are, because it builds that person. We're not going to say born as that, but back then, how you formed your life or thinking or doing things, it kind of like builds the young adult you are today.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
Yeah, touching on what you're saying about like the moments in our youth that kind of shaped us. I think for me it was like my dad would always, like, if he's seen heroes in a movie, he would call me by that name. So for example, Van Damme, there was a western where there was a cowboy called.
Why is saying wrestling? Piaka 619.
He wasn't he's not even a big fan of wrestling now. So he'll just be like Briscoe, which is like a cowboy, Briscoe, you're like, Briscoe.
Now I get where you get the humor from dad.
Yeah. No, that is.
Now I see where the humor comes from. It comes from dad.
Yeah.
So dad also did a part in your life.
Very, very big part. Yeah.
It's nice to have parents, into our lives, like present into our lives. It also like molds us to groom us into like very responsible grown-ups.
Yeah.
So going forward now, we passed the high school life, now your varsity, you did your public relations ones, and you did
marketing management.
So everything is business related. So this is a business already, even though it's a comic book, but it's a business. So already what you learned in school kind of like happens and comes in handy for you to go forward with it. So now that a young adult, you say you started Young Nelson. Year 2021, if I'm correct?
2018. Well, 2018 was the day I registered the company.
Okay.
And then it took about 2 years. You're right. About 2 years to develop the character. So you're right. About 2020, 2021 is where we now had the storyboarding, line work, illustrating, comic book published.
Who does the drawings? Of course. And then the storyline?
I usually know.
The 50-50 thing. Bring it on, make it happen. So you do the drawing. What comes in mind when you created what came in mind when you created Young Nelson? What was the brief he gave you?
Yeah. Well,
Or
Muhammad
you
Ali-
both sat together, you know what? There's a storyline, I don't know, but I want us to create.
Yeah.
I think it's the interesting thing, like what I learned in marketing is that, especially when you're trying to create a brand or a business plan for somebody, is that you really have to pay attention to like the things that they're saying and also like what they're not saying.
Yeah.
That like when you give them the thing, they're like, oh, it's perfect. You know, and it's like the other things that they maybe didn't say out loud, but you kind of took, you know, to heart. So, for instance, when I was thinking about Young Nelson, I was thinking the Boondocks. You know, I'm thinking hip hop.
I mean, your friend loved Boondocks. Of course, it's the best thing,
Yeah. So
makes
you pull from like a lot of the things that you feel like the project needs, and I think that's the other thing. Like, you know, you maybe learn in music or like art, like what does this project need? You know, people are like maybe sums it up as like, when does the musician know when like the song is complete? You know, so like it took time to.
I mean, 2018 to 2021,
yeah, you know,
it's how a creative mind works. It doesn't just
you
know, you have to take time for it to
and I mean,
build up
especially
into
if it's something like this, you understand why it took so long to come about. So around the time there would be like artists that maybe like send stuff back, and in my head, like, you know, what I saw every time you tell me about the project wasn't maybe what would come back from, you know, like the artist that would try and work on the project. So that's when like I was like, okay, let me like take a crack at it and see if like I can you know
try it out
and get it there.
So initially, what came into mind? Yourself or somebody you once saw?
So it would be Muhammad Ali, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yes, make sure they show it.
You know, it's like,
make sure.
Yeah, you know, it's like it's reference points of like when I was talking about heroes in your head. So, you know, there's a certain way you want him to move. There's a certain way you know want him to be, for him to feel like a real person.
You wanted it to be like an alive.
Yeah, so that means you have to like pull from like a dad or you know.
How many characters are in here?
In the whole comic book,
an
infinite amount of characters. Because if you look at it this way, Young Nelson is the main character, but then if you say characters, it excludes the super powered characters. So his mom is there. There's his little brother.
He's a teenager, or
so the idea behind Young Nelson was to take the qualities of Mr. Nelson Mandela and to place them.
So the Young Nelson is Roli Young Nelson, you know, in
a contemporary setting. So his real name is Thabo Africa.
Why Thabo Africa?
I like the name of Thabo Mbeki, and then I also
we see you
because look, it's really difficult to create a fictional character, and I thought the idea is continuation. You know, so if you are looking for a character that embodies everyone, I said Mo Africa. That's the surname because Raba Africa Babot. You know, and I also thought it works well in a praise song, Thabo ya Mo Africa. That Thabo is the joy of the African
For someone
people.
who loves speaking English, one wouldn't think you would think of any African name for it.
Well, look, I was, interesting enough, I believe I do my best to understand Setswana and English equally. Not necessarily speak it equally, but understand if you're going to create a character.
Whenever you speak it, I'm like, oh, shoot, he's Setswana.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, you don't look like you're from Rustenburg. You look like you're from Botswana. I'm like, what is that? What is it? It's the same thing, you know.
Same thing. Northwest is particularly like here, but Botswana.
So I think touching on that, I think culture is so powerful in storytelling, especially fictional storytelling, because it's having a blank canvas, and then we're saying the strokes that you're going to use is your culture. It's, for example, if you look at American characters, they struggle to create African characters because
they don't know
the names, because you're looking for an African name, and because you don't live here, you don't know what.
The pronunciation is also wrong. I don't know what movie I was watching. The pronunciation of the names that is big here, it's like so wrong. So I get where you're going with that. So is this one of, how many comics do we even have in South Africa? For people like us who initially we don't follow much of comic books, we'd rather watch what is built from a comic book. So do you know how many, or this is one, ne?
Yes.
This is the only one.
No. Well, I think the scene and the industry in SA is like, there's a lot of us as individuals publishing, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a great artist called Loyiso Mkhize who's got a comic book called Kwezi, who's, you know, consistently at...
Look at you giving him a nice shout out there.
Well, look,
there.
I think the beauty is the ecosystem is such that when we have... Because one time I got this phone call, right? And this person once said, hey, I want a young Nelson, I want a Kwezi, and could I also get, I think there's another comic book called Dr. Molif, you know, and I'm like, I can help you get the young Nelson, but then the other issues, I need to call the people, they're actually independent. And I realized in the audience mind, when they think South African comic books, they don't see us as individuals, they just see, like, they get to DC and Marvel and they see us, you know. So I look at it that way, that when we as South African comic book publishing grow, everyone's gonna grow, because kids are gonna go into a bookstore and be like, oh, I want a young...
I can't wait for that. One day my kids not knowing which one to go for and just take all of them.
You know,
so great.
And you know, and that's why I'm like, I think when we all grow, when you have a young guy coming up, help him up, because
you guys are making history, not actually aware of it. Like one day people will reference back to like these people also were like the main ancestors of comic books in South Africa. So this is lovely.
Thank you.
I love how you guys are going with this, and it's been 2 years now into pushing this. I see that yesterday, right, the 16th of September, you went to Midrand
the folklore festival.
Because I said folklore. Folklore festival, and I see one of my favorites there lined up. So I'm like, oh, okay, this was actually amazing. I would love to go there.
She was great.
So what was happening there? What is the whole festival about comics, like books rather, is for people who are out there but not knowing like what feel is it in, because we all know how an event is. It's partying. People are just gonna be like drinking, eating, and it's gonna be, you know, crazy. So for a book event, majority of people like robala, roborega, library. So how is it for those who are at home and watching and like wanting to go for another event that's coming up? Just give them a feel of, you know.
I think the folklore festival is amazing. It's curated by...
It happens every year?
It started last year, and the goal is for it to happen every single year. So it's curated by a lady by the name of Pelani Bubu, as well as an organization called Ethnic Kids, and they specialize in producing indigenous books for children. So the festival was amazing because the goal of the folklore festival is to preserve our folklore, our culture, our oral traditions in an innovative way where young people, the next generation, can take it on and use it. You know, so we had book readings by the amazing Shoma Josie. You know, we had an amazing individual known as Amudisa the Clown, and I think we had a drumming circle. We as Rainbow Nation Comics, we had a comic book workshop.
Oh, it covers all arts.
Yes.
Artsy, nah.
So the idea is to stimulate the children culturally, for them to be so excited about their folklore,
and not limit themselves
about their culture, that they're like, my African culture has drumming, the kids did drumming, you know, my African culture has, you know, hip hop, you know, so the kids.
Hence you performed even yesterday.
So
we see you.
So the one thing was to preserve culture through storytelling. So we're taking our folk heroes, you know, our Nelson Mandela's, Winnie Mandela's, and saying, how do we reinterpret them in pop culture where young kids can wear their shirts, can watch animation that is inspired by their lives, you know. So I think it more than anything was trying to create for a young person multiple opportunities for them to embrace, to experience culture, experience their culture. So as they grow, they can maybe say, you know what, I like drumming, or
it gives them more, you know.
Or I want to create a comic book about Khosi Sichele or Khosi Shaka, you know. So they're excited before they
actually reach the age to do it. So okay, so my mind just went. Sorry. Sorry, I always do this. I don't know.
Cool.
Okay, so
it's fine. Can you move?
Why?
It's like the sun was getting.
It's sitting this side. The experience yesterday, how was it for you?
It was eye opening. Like, as you know.
It was an eye opening.
Eye opening. Like if I was a kid, like.
That would be exciting.
It would be crazy, and because.
That's why you say I'll enjoy it because I'm a kid at heart.
Yes, but also like the folklore, like how you know, you're like you can suspend your disbelief about like the theme and like what's going on and what she's trying to do. You know, if like she's trying to like remind you that you know like this is a space to unpack those ideas, you find that a safe space to almost start to do that. So
we should have it in Rustenburg.
Yeah, like I'm saying, I saw like the kids going to like the performances.
Those kids' imaginations are big and huge. They're never limited, so it's very nice for them to be more exposed to a lot of things like that.
And for there to be that safety net.
Yeah.
So again, this is me having been to like other dance events and seeing like, oh, like I really enjoyed this, but this made me feel some type of way, or you know, like maybe I can't invite my dad to this event because like there's a certain crowd. You know what I mean? So like for her to be able to create that space, I thought was amazing. I think you asked me like about my journey. I like told you like for me the focus was football. But yesterday was like one of those times like I stopped for a bit. I'm like,
this is where I'm supposed to be.
What would actually happen if I was here? You know, because a lot of the time, like I'm saying, the infrastructure kind of lacks in certain spaces. With football, it lacks here. That was the one space where I was like, you know, we're in Northwest, but somehow they found comic book artists to come in there to make sure that we're available for kids too. So for them to be looking for that type of stuff lets you know the care and like the product. So
you guys are already exposed out there. That is really, really nice.
So
it goes along with loving, like having the love to work with kids. You know, that is amazing.
I think dance helped a lot to understand. Yeah, because you taught kids. Now it's just teaching them about the comic book.
So
what inspires you every day? Like every day when you look about, okay, we've been talking about Young Nelson. You have Rainbow Nation. What is the difference between Nelson and Rainbow Nation? Because it's two different things.
So Young Nelson is a character within the Rainbow Nation Comics publishing
so this
house.
Is the umbrella.
So when we were finished with the story of Young Nelson, I realized, okay, now you've got a comic book story, but where are you going to publish it? Who's going to publish it?
How many pages is it?
Oh, the first one is 16 pages.
Guys, come on now. Wait, hold up. Where can we get the
bargain books, exclusive books,
House of Comics online?
Online.
Check them out. Young Nelson, right? Young Nelson is reasonable. Pages are not that long. 16 pages.
After like people read, people like they complain like, dude,
why? Yeah, it's the other way. Why not? Where's the rest of it?
Like Super Strikers, I used to love reading it at the bottom there by the newspapers. So I get it like, oh, come on.
Next week.
Come on, guys. 16 pages, not that long. You heard where you can get it from. And also, if you want to have a connection with them individually or personally or as a group, I'll put down where you can get them on the description below. In the meantime, also do talk to us. What do you like so far, and what inspires you from hearing where they come from and going with the whole comic journey, right? So, aspiration about the whole Rainbow Nation. Where do you aspire to be in the let me not say now, like in the long term. Entirely. Where do you see this going?
I think in the long term is to see Rainbow Nation Comics as the comic book publisher of choice for South African audiences, right? Both from a young aspiring artist saying, I want to know how to create content, create comic books. We want to be the first point of contact to say one of the best comic book publishers in South Africa is Rainbow Nation Comics, and therefore we want to work with them. You know, attracting the best talent so we can produce the best titles. So we want to have new titles outside of Young Nelson. We want a female character. Tentatively, we've got Mbogodo right now. We also want a football comic as well. You know, we're a football crazy nation.
So all the drawings come from you, right?
Yep.
Are you open to anybody who be like, but I also want to, join in and help him out with the creation that you just mentioned of going forward? Are you open to that, or for now it's just the two of you guys and you're trying to maneuver everything together before you starting to like have other people to work with you?
I think we are open to working with talented artists who are looking to collaborate.
Are you? When as a drawer, because I know normally when you're like a person who does everything, like creating. You don't want more people to interfere in that. So are you open to, in the future, that you know, hey, I'm a good drawer, or I'm a good sketcher, or I'm a good, you know, whatever. Can I now join you guys?
Yeah,
Do you think you will have that?
I think like at Comic-Con we have had maybe guys that may have like either the idea or some sort of aspects of it.
It really is.
And you know, they will maybe recreate some artwork for us. And so with it, we go like, oh, this is somebody else took the time to draw young Nelson and it looks good.
Yeah.
You know, but I think what we also want to do is be able to compensate somebody and anybody like that comes into our project, and not necessarily be like, okay, yes, we're still building. Could you do this for like free? You know what I mean? Like,
so there is a possibility in the future, guys.
Yes,
come back to them and be like, I remember you 2 years ago, you said in the future, this is the future. So they are open to that. They don't cut people out, because creation is
collaboration.
It's big, right? Now, what words would you want to give to the young creators, the young people out there who are watching and be like, I always wanted to do this. This is possible. So what inspiration or comforting words, because when we were young, we never had this much of exposure. I mean, we had to inspire ourselves, you know. Networking wasn't much big on our space. So what words do you want to put in them to, like, you know what, they did tell me, and Pamela did tell me that, you know, I could do 1 and 2 as a young age, so that I can build up going forward. Let's start with you.
I think one of the things that inspired me on this journey was a quote by Mr. Nelson Mandela that says, may your choices reflect your hopes.
Sorry guys, we clearly know, we clearly understand he loves Mr. Nelson Mandela and also Thabo Mbeki. So going forward, we should be expecting of anything Nelson, anything Thabo Mbeki.
I would say I love practical advice.
Oh yes.
So if
let's not go to politics. I almost asked you one question, so I don't want the politics, you know, the other ones that I was speaking of. So you're practical.
So what I realized is the statement goes, or the quote goes, may your choices reflect your hopes and not your fears. You know, and I think there's a lot of fear that takes place when you're doing something that's never been done before. Because it's like if you're falling, you're trying to hold on to something. You know, so when you're scared, you're panicking, you try and get a safety blanket, you know. So I think for me, one of the things I realized is, like, when you're sitting there and, you know, either you don't have enough money to publish your books, or you don't have an illustrator, or whatever journey you're on, there's those moments where you don't have what you need to get to the next step. And I think for me, the thing that happens is that you start to worry and you panic and you start to visualize how bad the failure could be, you know. And I think that's when I thought of may your choices reflect your hopes, is that I started taking time to say, but what do I want? What do you want? And then focus on what you want. And then as you paint that picture, sometimes the smallest step you can take is resting. Not you the first step is,
I do that a lot.
You're not worrying about what could go wrong, you're resting, you know. And I realized that gives you time to think about
reevaluate everything. And now
can I call someone? Can I, you know? And so it's like there's gonna be challenges where I can't help you. You have to sit down with God and say, Mudim, you gave me this dream, you gave me this goal. But the more you start thinking about your goals and you focus on what do I do to, you know, have my choice reflect what I hope for and not, you know, what I fear, I believe you make better choices. And so you work towards your dream much better and make less mistakes, I believe.
You sound like you always read things to motivate you.
Definitely.
You didn't need anybody to be like, hey, you know, you always turn back to something profound or written. You're like, I
think one of the most profound things I read in the Bible is that faith comes from hearing the word, right? And I realized the more you give yourself encouraging words, it's almost like exercise, you know?
Self-love. Self-awareness.
I literally think, like, doing 5 push-ups right now is very easy. You know, just like reading an inspirational quote, reading, you know, ask and you shall receive. But I think sometimes you get so easy, like, I'll do the push-ups, and like, I'll motivate myself.
We're all guilty of that. Hence why now you guys are only having the episode happening now. So I had my moments of I'll edit.
And it's natural. It's natural to procrastinate, you know. And I think the beauty is on your journey as you keep showing people, like, I got up. You know, like Nelson says, don't judge me how many times I've risen up. But how many times
surprisingly,
I've fell.
you didn't use the most favorite one of education. It's the key to success, because everyone when they refer.
Yeah.
So when you said Nelson Mandela, I'm like, oh, I hope he's not going to say the same one. Sorry to cut you short. Yes.
Yeah, I realized, if you apply some of the wisdom that you see, then you believe in it more with more conviction, because you've seen yourself, in that moment of doubt, and you're like, I got out of that. So I've realized that motivating yourself, as you write comic books as well, you're basically writing motivational books for kids. Because if that character says, I'm not giving up, I will take one more chance, then kids are like, I want to be like that.
The young you. Yeah. So, okay, D. You. What inspires you, or what inspiration or words would you want to give to the young people who are watching, or the young people that parents are now watching and like, you know what? Let me give my kid this words that I heard from you. What are the words you think?
I think for me, like anything you decide to do, like takes time.
Go. For it.
Yeah, like if you and if I wanted to make a cup of coffee now, it's gonna take 5 minutes. And if you're trying to build a company or be a musician, and also there's a certain amount of time that you have to spend with it to come out on the other side somewhat. They're sounding or looking like that.
Yeah.
So like for me, I've always just kind of focused on that. I think like McDonald's maybe takes about like 30 years to be a household name for us to know it like this. So I'm like, okay, then on average it should take about 30 years for my company to get there. So
could be 5.
That's what I'm saying. My default setting is 30 years. So that's how long my patience is with this process.
That's how much faith also
but
you
there
have.
is a sense of urgency, and like I would like to do it shorter.
So the young you, would the young you be very proud of you, like looking back?
Yeah,
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think especially in terms of being an artist, because I never thought I'd be a b-boy or dancer. So when other dancers come to you like, hey man, you're doing a good job, and the kids are going crazy, as a storyteller, my goal was just be better than Aquaman, just be better than Aquaman, just be better than Aquaman.
We get in there, I get
and I think for me, one of the benchmarks was like looking at how comic books in SA have been. I was like, there was an apartheid era comic book called Mighty Man that the youth of June 16 burned during the riots, and I was like, if people don't burn my comic book, technically I've done better than that Afro-Comics Mighty Man title. So.
D?
Well, I think it's very interesting.
Because you have so many. Because when you mentioned like football was the thing, now you're doing comic, you're having your own business together with your brother. I feel like your young you would be very proud. I mean, you turned out good. You didn't go for drugs. You didn't, you still turned out good.
Yeah. I think for me it's that I've always kind of said like, anytime I'm faced with that dilemma where we're all trying, where life is happening all at once, and you don't know it's the right decision. It's like try and do and make the right decision that like the older version of yourself will like thank you for. You're like, yo dude, thank you did that, because it's so much easier now for me to live. Like I say, like I'm young now, so I can stay up past 12 emailing, because I've got the energy. But I know like when I'm 50
you'll be like,
I can't do that.
No.
But I know like this version of myself, like I'll thank myself for like all the work I'm putting in now.
But also the company that you also keep, the friends we keep, the people around us that we keep, kind of like build the person that we are today. Okay, guys, before we close off, next week there's another event happening. What is it? Where is it happening? What to expect? How can people go for it? Like, be there.
So next week is going to be Comic-Con Africa. It's a 4-day pop culture event at the Johannesburg Expo Center. So it's going to be starting on the Friday the 22nd until the 25th, which is a Monday. So it's a
4-day thing there.
So there's video games, there's comic books, there's sweets, there's
take your kids there.
It's great for kids.
Mutadi, listen, take your babies there, you will enjoy. I mean, yesterday they had a nice event that happened that was spectacular. So I trust for 4 days, imagine how many things are there to happen every day. So of course, it's in Joburg. And do they pay? Is the ticket
Yes,
free or?
I think I need to double check with tickets because they might be sold out, but I
Okay.
can maybe just give you more updates
Okay.
and then you could put it on.
Yeah, on the description below. All right. And any last words that you guys want to give to my people, to your people who are watching?
I think for us it's honestly, just to like keep out like an eye out for our work, because we are busy, and it could be dance, it could be comic books.
Oh, you still do dance passionately, so?
I'm just saying, just in general.
No, guys, if you want to book them to dance for you, come on. do
Break
it.
dance, yeah.
But I have also said, because I'm studying animation like that, that has
Oh, you're back at studying again.
Yeah, that has my full attention. But
Yeah.
I have said, like, should there be something that needs us, and like, if you can give me a month, I can get back. So
Okay.
there is that default setting. It's just I'm focused on like animation.
Yeah.
So I think it would just be for people to just look out for our next couple of moves.
For short, the remaining of the year, we should be on the lookout on what's what.
Yeah.
So where can people get you individually and as a pay?
Most of our socials, so that's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube is at Rainbow Nation Comics.
Everywhere.
Yeah, one word.
What about TikTok? TikTok.
We're on TikTok.
we're not
We need to get
You
on TikTok.
should be back. You should be on
No, I
TikTok.
know TikTok. The kids
Yeah.
are doing it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
TikTok,
and also throw in your dance move there and there. Come on, guys.
No,
Yes.
Yeah,
While wearing your t-shirts and
Yeah,
stuff.
we've literally
we've
the
made
merch.
note, like we've seen.
Yeah. No. I just want to, to know, like, Shayanyana, guys. I have my own tea. I just wanted to show you because thank you, guys. So how can people get this merch?
It's going to be available at Comic-Con Africa, right?
Comic-Con, okay.
Yeah, and then in the meantime, we're going to be working on getting our distribution network together. So that's also in the pipeline. So please
Be on the lookout.
Yeah, please do. Please
Maybe
do.
one day you'll have your own store just selling them.
Definitely.
And many other things.
We'd love to come back and be like, hey guys, the store is up, and be like,
Yeah,
you know,
definitely, please, hey?
Definitely.
Yeah, no, we are going for that. We're aiming for that, not just only doing one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Rainbow Nation for something,
Yeah.
okay? It's an umbrella. We
Yeah.
now have Nelson, we have merch. One day we will have
Music.
our own studio for the dancing, music, animation. Oh, this is great, guys.
employ the whole nation.
Yeah, that is the aim. That is
Yeah.
the aim. I mean, it's been only 2 years. Who
Yeah.
knows when it's 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay, already people are calling you in, like, come through.
Yeah,
So who
yeah.
knows, in 10 years they'll be like, come through, and we have
yeah.
something for you guys. So thank you for having this time, taking the
pleasure.
time to come here and have a sit down with me. This was great. I was so happy to see. It's been very, very long.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years, but I am glad that you did put me in your busy schedule. And for everyone who's watching back at home, please remember for your kids to get the comic book. It's so reasonable. 16 pages. Even you can no cussing. I get
No cousin.
no cussing.
profanity music.
So you see, nobody's gonna be swearing.
Music
All right,
with a
guys, and everything else will be down there in the description. Please do subscribe, do like, do share to everybody, your cousins, your friends, everybody. And also, if you know them, just a quick shout out down there on the comment section. It'll be very fun. I went to school with D, of course. So if you do know, he was the best, one of the best dancers that we know of. Shout out to him. Okay, thank you guys. See you on the next episode after this one. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. So hot now.